In this video, we're going to talk about everything you need to know about living in Southwest Portland. By far the most unique part of Portland that, on one hand, really has something for everybody. On the other hand, it's not an area where everybody tends to gravitate toward. We're going to talk about why that is. Stay tuned to learn more. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Paul Clem with the Oregon Relocation Team coming to you from Portland, Oregon. And in this video, we're going to talk about Southwest Portland, which is a very dynamic area that does have a ton to offer, really no matter your circumstance or what you are looking for. If you're thinking about moving to Portland, you've probably gravitated toward a lot of the neighborhoods on the east side of the river, like Irvington or Sellwood or Laurelhurst or Mount Tabor. The East Side neighborhoods are really the most true Portland neighborhoods when you look at Portland's identity and really kind of the best of what Portland has to offer. The walkability, the historical architecture. Southwest Portland, at least on the surface, doesn't really offer as much of the walkability or kind of the urban city living feel that you get. So I think a lot of people thinking about moving to Portland do tend to overlook Southwest Portland for that reason. Now, somebody looking for a more suburban area is going to probably be looking in like Beaverton or Bethany or Lake Oswego or Happy Valley, and Southwest Portland, because it is Portland, probably flies under the radar or gets overlooked for that reason, because people don't necessarily think that Southwest Portland is going to offer the same type of opportunities as the Portland suburbs do. But when you look at Southwest Portland, you can get all of that. And to some degree, Southwest Portland is the perfect mix of offering really the best of both worlds. And hey, if this is your first time to the channel or you've been here and you haven't already and you want to get more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button, tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. And we've helped so many people relocate to Portland and move to the Portland metro area. And as real estate professionals, we absolutely love to help with that process. So if that's you, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video. Schedule a Zoom call with us and we can talk more about your move. So in this video, we're going to talk about the pros and the cons of living in Southwest Portland. We're going to talk about what are some of the draws to the area, what it's going to be like actually living there. We're going to talk about some of the trade-offs. We're going to talk about, stay tuned to the end, because I really want to touch on why somebody would avoid Southwest Portland despite it being an area that checks so many boxes for so many people. So at this point in time, as I make this video, the median sale price in Portland, all of Portland, is $580,000. The median sale price in Southwest Portland is $725,000. And a big part of that is in Southwest Portland, you're going to find larger homes on average. You're going to find fewer small bungalows, fewer condos, fewer townhomes, and you're also going to find a lot more homes with larger lots. Not necessarily land. You're not getting like an acre plus or anything like that, but it is pretty standard in a lot of Southwest Portland to get a fifth of an acre, a quarter of an acre, maybe a third of an acre in some cases. So I think that's really a big draw to the area. People do like the larger lots and the more suburban feel. We're going to talk about that. But just on the surface alone, when you look at the prices for Southwest Portland relative to the rest of Portland, it's going to be a little bit higher priced. But you're also probably going to be getting a larger house and a larger yard on average. Southwest Portland itself, despite being pretty big, as far as the footprint, only has about 100,000 people that live there. So the population density is much smaller, much less than other parts of Portland, in particular on the east side of the river, again, where you get more of kind of the dense urban residential living. In Southwest Portland, you're going to get 2 public high schools. And this is something that I want to talk more about in this video, because there's 2 different high schools in Southwest Portland and 2 really distinct sections of Southwest Portland. And I think that is very important to understand when you are looking at a map. A lot can get lost, when you're just looking at the aerial view, but when you really start to break this down, you can start to make more sense of how Southwest Portland breaks out, what it's going to be like living in these different parts of Southwest Portland as well. So again, Southwest Portland is broken out into 2 distinct areas. You have the north section of Southwest Portland and the south section of Southwest Portland that are really going to provide 2 pretty distinct, quite different living experiences, at least in some ways, as far as you are in proximity to. Obviously, again, there's two different high schools, so the elementary schools, the middle schools, and the high school is going to be different living in one area than it is another. But one area you're going to be obviously, more connected to the city, being on the north side here, and on the south side, a little more connected to some of the west side suburbs. So we're going to talk more about that specifically. So the dividing line in Southwest Portland is really Beaverton Hillsdale Highway. BHH is what we call it here. So if you hear somebody say BHH, they're talking about Beaverton Hillsdale Highway right here. And on the north side of Southwest Portland, you obviously have a big section of downtown Portland, everything south of Burnside here in Southwest Portland, in the downtown area. And this is also where Lincoln High School is. So one of the two high schools in Southwest Portland is right downtown Portland, which is kind of cool. It's a brand new building. They just tore down the old high school, rebuilt a new one. So it's a really nice facility. But if you live in this north section, for the most part of Southwest Portland, you're going to be feeding into Lincoln High School. So that in and of itself is quite different if you have kids, because you're sending your kids to a high school that is right in the middle of the city, which some people really like and some people don't like at all. And some people are probably pretty neutral about it. But so you have the downtown area on this north section, and then everything here in Southwest Portland on this, in this kind of north section is really very hilly. So this is part of the West Hills, and all of these neighborhoods up here are very wooded. You have curving, winding streets. You have the majority of the lots that the homes are on being sloped, so you can get a yard, but it is much more rare to get a yard in the West Hills here. So just to give you a little better idea, you can see the topography here. The West Hills running just up behind downtown Portland, and all of these neighborhoods up here like Southwest Hills and Portland Heights and Healy Heights. These are all, again, up in the West Hills. And so once you get up and over the West Hills, it starts to level out quite a bit. And you get a lot of that here on the south section of Southwest Portland, where you still have some hills, and it is more kind of like rolling hills. And along the river here, you still have like the hillside. So the West Hills is like long and contiguous, basically running north-south, parallel to the river. But on the south side of Southwest Portland, you get neighborhoods that are much less hilly, and it feels really quite suburban in these areas because the West Hills themselves block any view of the city or the skyline, so you really don't feel like you're in the city at all. You don't feel like you're right in the city necessarily up here in the West Hills on the north side of Southwest Portland, but you kind of know that you can just drop down the hill and you're right into downtown. So you feel much more of a connection and much more connectivity to the city itself in downtown Portland, being in the West Hills, than you do on the south side of Southwest Portland. And you have a lot of really great desirable neighborhoods on the south side of Southwest Portland as well. South Burlingame, Hillsdale. Here, this is where Ida B. Wells High School is. So Lincoln High School is up here downtown. Hillsdale is where Ida B. Wells High School is. But Maplewood and Ash Creek and Marshall Park, Collins View, even Dunthorpe down here, which is unincorporated Multnomah County, but really, really nice areas. And a lot of these neighborhoods were built over like the 50s and 60s, maybe the 40s and 50s and 60s. So you have more of a mid-century feel in these neighborhoods. The other thing that's quite different living up here in the West Hills in Southwest Portland is, like I had alluded to, you feel much more of a connection to the city, where you're in the West Hills, the big hills, the Tualatin Mountains perched above downtown. You can just drop down the hill and be in downtown Portland very quickly. Whereas in this south section of Southwest Portland, there's much more of a connection to the surrounding suburbs. So you have Lake Oswego due south, you have Tigard kind of to the southwest, and then you have Beaverton due west. Now up here on the north section, you do have Highway 26, which gives you really good quick quick access to a lot of the west side, in particular getting out to Hillsborough, and you don't have to kind of cut through Beaverton to get west, where having Highway 26, again, it's just going to give you a little quicker access going east and west. But on the south side of Southwest Portland, you don't feel as much of a connection to the city and downtown Portland, whereas your proximity to the surrounding suburbs touching Southwest Portland, I think, give you much more of a suburban feel, or that much more of a suburban feel, whereas it already feels like a pretty suburban area. But you can get south to Lake Oswego in 10 to 15 minutes. Lake Oswego has a great little downtown area. It's a great place to go hang out, grab food, get ice cream, whatever it is. In Tigard, there's a lot of shopping, in particular Washington Square Mall. So if you live in Southwest Portland, Washington Square Mall is right here, and you can get over to the mall very quickly, very easily. Downtown Beaverton is really up and coming, a really cool place to go hang out. That's just due west from anywhere in Southwest Portland, so very easy to get to. And here, right in the south section of Southwest Portland, you have Multnomah Village, which is really kind of the only neighborhood in Southwest Portland that feels anything like neighborhoods on the east side of Portland, where you have like Hawthorne and Division and Belmont and Alberta and all these really cool streets with the shopping and the restaurants, etc. Multnomah Village is a little smaller, it's a little quieter, it's a little more quaint. The age demographic is definitely going to skew a little bit higher. It looks basically like it did, when it was developed, like in the 40s and 50s. And I think the historic charm is really cool. It feels like a little beach town, almost like a little kind of beach town shopping village. And there's some really great restaurants. There are food carts. They're putting in pickleball courts. I mean, there's a lot going on there, and it is definitely one of the most sought after and most desirable areas in all of Portland, because you have this removed feeling from the city. But you get the walkability, you get a little bit more of the density. It feels a little more bustling than some of the other areas in Southwest Portland that are just more of a true suburban feel outside of this, the downtown area of Portland itself. So if you're thinking about moving to Portland and you want to be in an area that is wooded, maybe that has a view, definitely looking at the West Hills is going to be where you want to start. And I think a lot of people, especially coming from completely different landscapes, different climates, really want to have the Pacific Northwest feel, being amongst the trees. I think a lot of people really like that. That's been my experience working with people that are coming from like Texas or Phoenix or even Southern California, where it's just a complete contrast to where they're coming from. So again, you can see downtown Portland here, or the south part of downtown, south of Burnside and the city. And then also, in Southwest Portland too, I should mention, you have Markham Nature Park. So you have a ton of trails here in this area. You have the Japanese Gardens and Washington Park, which has the Oregon Zoo. So there's a lot going on here in the West Hills beyond just homes. But some of these neighborhoods, again, Portland Heights, Southwest Hills, Healy Heights, which is above OHSU, which is... So, there's a lot of really cool neighborhoods where you're in this wooded area, you have access to hiking trails, you can get views in a lot of cases. Now, if you don't want to be in the West Hills, if you don't want slanted driveways and sometimes no garage and, sometimes no usable yard and not a lot of natural light, there's definitely some trade-offs being in the West Hills. If you want to be in a more suburban area, if you are moving to Portland and you're looking at Beaverton, if you're looking at Tigard, Happy Valley, Milwaukee, whatever it may be, Lake Oswego, there's plenty of neighborhoods in Southwest Portland that are really, really good comps for the actual suburbs of Portland. And it starts with Bridal Mile, which is, you're just into the foothills of the West Hills, but some really nice neighborhoods in Bridal Mile, Hayhurst, Maplewood, Ash Creek. This whole band here of Southwest Portland is going to give you as suburban a feeling as you can get anywhere in the Portland metro area. There's a lot of really cool old charm. Some of these areas were like a little bit underdeveloped in some ways. or over the years as they kind of grew together. I mean, there's a lot of neighborhoods without sidewalks, for example, which is something that a lot of people comment on. Nice to have sidewalks, but you can definitely find walking paths and trails, being in this area. But you'll get a lot of consistency between Bridal Mile, Hayhurst, Maplewood, Ash Creek, West Portland, Crestwood, far southwest, these areas down here, really built up over the 50s, 60s, into the 70s a little bit. So you have a lot of split levels and tri-levels and ranches, and then you have little one-off pockets of newer development built in the last 30 years. If you are looking for something that is a closer comp to some of the east side neighborhoods, we talked about Multnomah Village, but really being in like this central southwest Portland area, Hillsdale and Multnomah Village is going to give you a little bit more density. It's a little more bustling. There's a little more going on. You can see this is where Ida B. Wells High School is. But Multnomah Village, really fun area. Even if you didn't live right in Multnomah Village or didn't have the ability to walk or bike to the village, anywhere you live in Southwest Portland gives you pretty good access to Multnomah Village, and you'll definitely be spending some time there. You also have Gabriel Park, which is an enormous park with a great community center, rec center. So there's a lot going on there. And you have Hillsdale as well, which does have some really good restaurants. It has some bars, coffee shop. Feel a little more urban and a little more like a neighborhood you might get on the east side of the river. So in addition to Multnomah Village and Hillsdale, South Burlingame is a really cool neighborhood that has more historical older homes, built over the 20s, 30s, and 40s. And it has a little more of that charm than you get in some other areas of Southwest Portland. This is another area that feels like it could be a neighborhood on the east side of Portland, and you do have a little kind of main stretch along Terwilliger where you have a couple of restaurants, a couple of bars, the Tryon Creek sports bar, legendary dive bar there in Southwest Portland. You also have Burlingame TV and Radio, which my grandpa opened in 1952. So that's a fun fact there. But South Burlingame, Hillsdale, Multnomah, this little stretch in here is going to feel a little bit busier and a little more dense. If you're leaning more toward a suburban feeling area, we talked about some of the more mid-century development around Ash Creek, Maplewood, and Hayhurst. Some of these areas on the south side of Southwest Portland, they're abutting Lake Oswego, Arnold Creek in particular. Super cool neighborhood. You have these stretches along Arnold and Lancaster where you have Arnold Creek running through. So you have a lot of trees and there's a tree line, very wooded. Stevenson Elementary School is here, so very sought after for that reason. You also have Tryon Creek State Park here, which is a park that really rivals, in some ways at least, Forest Park up here in Northwest Portland. So you can see how big Forest Park is, just enormous, miles and miles and miles of trails. And down here in Tryon Creek State Park, it's not quite as big, but to have this right in the middle of Southwest Portland, or if you live in Lake Oswego, you'd be going to Tryon Creek State Park as well. Really cool area. I mean, you can see this whole trail system through here, which it's awesome. It's nice to have that right on your doorstep. All right, one more thing I want to talk about, and then we'll talk about why people might avoid Southwest Portland. If you look at the county line, Multnomah County, here highlighted, and Washington County, over here. So Washington County is really going to make up most of the west side suburbs. There's a couple of reasons why somebody would not necessarily want to be in Multnomah County. This would be something that draws people out to surrounding cities or suburbs around Portland. So we'll talk more about that, but I want to talk about, this county line right here, which runs right at the edge, the western edge of Southwest Portland, and also the reality of living in this area, because this line is relatively arbitrary. It's like 65 blocks west, which that is something else to point out. I always want to point out to people is Southwest Portland, or the west side of Portland rather, really goes about 65, 70 blocks to the west, and you can see how far east the city of Portland, this is Multnomah County, but the city of Portland, the county line is more like 160 blocks, 170 blocks. So you get a lot more on the east side of the river, that's Portland proper, than on the west side. But adding to my point, which is there are communities on the west side, in particular the southwest side, northwest too, but on the southwest side of Portland, that really, for all intents and purposes, are southwest Portland, but they're in Washington County. So these are areas like Metzger, which is kind of more Tigard. Like in Metzger, you feed into Tigard School District, but Garden Home Whitford, or Garden Home, this is like a 5-minute drive to Multnomah Village, living in Garden Home. And it's very consistent with what you can get in Ash Creek and Hayhurst. So just because the county line runs through there doesn't mean that much changes. The landscape, the houses, the style of neighborhoods, very similar here in Garden Home as they are in areas just over the county line in Multnomah County. Same with Raleigh Hills, which is probably going to feel a little more like Bridle Mile. So Raleigh Hills and West Slope, really unique neighborhoods, a lot of very historic communities and cool old homes, a little bit of mid-century stuff in there as well. But again, Raleigh Hills and West Slope are more similar to Bridle Mile than not, and it's just this county line. It's really pretty arbitrary. If you're here, you don't know when you cross the county line or not, and that extends all the way north in northwest Portland too, where in northwest, like Cedar Mill, is a little more of its standalone community. Same with Bethany, a little more suburban, kind of true suburban feeling, but still really good proximity to the city. And all of these areas just inside Washington County, just over the county line, they all have Portland addresses, so they're unincorporated communities. So they're not, part of Beaverton proper, for example. But all of these communities outside of Metzger feed into Beaverton School District. So that is worth noting as well, is obviously if you're in Multnomah County, you're going to be in Portland Public Schools. If you're just over the county line, basically still in southwest Portland, you're going to be in Beaverton School District. So, they're interchangeable for the most part. Every individual school would have its own rating and its own experience, so that's something you can look into further. But I would look at this on the west side in particular as, this county line, again, it's really pretty arbitrary. 217 is really the boundary. Once you get past 217, you're right into central Beaverton and downtown Beaverton right here. But inside of 217, touching southwest Portland, you really basically have the same proximity to the city. You're taking the same major highways or roads to get up into the city or to the east side. So why would somebody live here in unincorporated Washington County versus living in southwest Portland? Well, it might just be that all of these areas are good candidates and somebody found a house that was a good fit in Garden Home or Raleigh Hills or West Slope or up here in West Haven, for example. And it might just be the house that determines where somebody ends up, the exact neighborhood. Honestly, that happens more often than not with people. The right house determines the exact neighborhood. And this is really the big reason why somebody would avoid southwest Portland, despite checking so many boxes for so many people, is when you're into Multnomah County, you're paying higher taxes. So you're paying higher property taxes, probably something like 25-30% higher on average property taxes, which is not insignificant. For example, let's say a $800,000 home in a Portland proper neighborhood or inside of the county line in Multnomah County, the property taxes might be $12,000 to $17,000 a year. The same $800,000 house in West Slope or Raleigh Hills or Garden Home, the property taxes might be $8,000, maybe up to $12,000 tops a year. So it depends on the age of the home. It depends on the size of the lot. There's a lot that goes into that. But on average, you're going to get a lot of relief in Washington County on property taxes. And in Multnomah County, there is an additional income tax for preschool for all. And for higher income earners, if you're single, it's 1.5% on $125,000, or anything over $125,000, you pay 1.5% on. If you're married, filing jointly, I think it's over $200,000 anything over $200,000, you pay 1.5% additional tax on. So there's an additional income tax here, you know, for if your household income is $250,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year, anything over that threshold, you're paying 1.5% on, which again, it's not insignificant. So, you know, there are neighborhoods in Southwest Portland, in Multnomah County, in Portland in general, that are so cool, you know, that could be such a perfect fit where it is totally justifiable. I find that to be the case quite often. But if you are really shopping toward the top of your budget, for example, if you have a lot of other expenses, you know, that difference in taxes really could be the difference in whether or not you would want to be or could be in Southwest Portland in this case, or over the county line into Washington County. So if you're thinking about moving to Portland, and if Southwest Portland is an area that interests you, I would love to chat more about it and talk about some of the nuances, some of the different neighborhoods, some of the differences, the pros and the cons. If you want to talk more about that, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video. Schedule a Zoom call with us and we can talk more about it. If this video was helpful, make sure to hit the like button. That helps us out a lot. If you want to get more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. As always, we really appreciate you watching, and until next time, we'll talk to you later.